Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're the Ghouls Next Door. Talking about that spooky stuff.
All the time.
Yes.
With other people that aren't just us.
Yeah. So submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society.
Yeah.
Our 31st episode is about horror for kids.
Yeah. Scare your children all the time.
Yeah.
It's good for them. Teaches them stuff. Trauma is a great way to instill life lessons.
That's like our motto. And we're kicking off a new episode for the month of November where we're going to have a new theme. So last month was classic horror. And this month, because it is my birthday month, I'm inviting my good friends from one of my favorite podcasts ever, the Black Tribbles.
Woo!
And today we have the Amalgam and Uncanny Tribble.
Yes.
Owner of Amalgam Comics here in Philadelphia, and co-host of Security Blanket, a podcast about HBO's Insecure, Ariell.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yay, friends.
Yeah. For those who don't know the Black Tribbles, I don't know what you're doing or how you found us, but they are too cool to be geeks, too cute to be nerds. They're the Black Tribbles, and they explore the nerd within and out. And we decided to kind of not interview, but just bring them in and hang out with each one of them and talk a little bit about some spooky things. But you guys are always you're always out there. You guys are always
doing
stuff
all the time.
The hardest working tribbles in show business.
Yeah.
It's always something going on. Yeah, it's so I'm like a new member of the group. So I joined the group on the 7th day of the 7th month in their 7th year. So the podcast itself is 7 years old, but I'm like the newbie. I guess I've been, member of Tribble Nation and unofficially a Tribble. And so, I was really honored to be invited to join, the main cast of characters that make up the Black Tribbles. But yeah, it's like we're at cons, we're doing this, we're doing that. It's Tribbles After Dark. It's always something going on. It's fun, but it's a lot of work too. I think people don't, you see the fun side of it and you don't realize like how much time and effort went into planning and producing. So I'm learning a lot too, because I'm new to the podcast world just in general. So it's cool.
And you also have Security Blanket. I've listened to a few episodes because I've only watched a few episodes of Insecure, unfortunately.
Oh, are you not a big fan or?
I started watching and then got distracted by the world, and then I was like, I'm gonna put this away for the minute because I want to be able to sit here and pay attention and to watch it. But I did enjoy the first episode. The rap definitely got me hooked, and just the characters are just. They're characters, they're just very big, and all of the drama and things that are happening in there is super exciting and awesome to watch.
Yeah, and relatable. I mean, I feel like as a young Black woman millennial, this is the first show that I have watched in real time and been like, oh man, they're doing things that we do. Because of course, there's Living Single but I was younger, and so I watched it and I liked it. But when I rewatched it when it came to Hulu, which was a big deal, and I rewatched it, I realized how much stuff just went over my head. Yeah. Even Khadijah being an entrepreneur, and so everything that she would be going through, and I was like, yes, that's absolutely right. But all of I missed that when I was younger, and then Girlfriends, I didn't get it. Eve, all those kind of shows, and so now to have a show that's timely for me, and they're doing all the things that I'm doing, and the dating apps and the all that, it's just really cool. So I think it's a really important show.
Well, you juggle a lot of things even just outside of Tribbles, because you have that podcast and then you also run Amalgam.
I do.
Yeah, tell us about
how you do
the
it.
Cool. How you do all these things.
Crack. No. No. I'm drug free mostly, but but no, I don't know. I think sheer will. I mean, I'm sure some of it is fear of failing publicly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this store is much bigger than I thought it would be. I really just wanted to create a space where I could be myself. So I wanted to be in a space where it's like I read comic books all day and I bake cookies, and you know, when it's slow I knit, and like in between customers, and none of like, not none, but like the knitting thing definitely hasn't happened. You know, I don't get to read as many books as I'd like I really have to carve out time for that. And you know, the baking thing, I am baking there, but it's, you know, it's this, you know, it's, I don't want to say frantic, but it's like, oh crap, there's no bread, I got to get bread out. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not, it's like there's an urgency about everything, as opposed to, you know, I thought I was just going to be like floating around having fun. But, and I like appreciate the success of Amalgam. You know, we've really created a name for ourselves in like the Philly nerd world and the blurred nerd, you know, the blurred nerd world, all that. You know, there's so much work behind it. You know, it's my baby. And I, you know, my hope and prayer is that it's not always like this. It's like, you know, we're about to be 3 years old. We'll be 3 years old in December.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and new businesses, like, you know, generally you don't even turn a profit until year 5. So, you know, everyone says, like, if you open a business, if you can get to year 5, it gets so much easier after that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, my hope is that we make it to year 5. So if you haven't been to Amalgam, please come out and support.
Yeah, it's
It's
amazing.
great. I highly recommend. It's very cool.
Definitely.
People
Yeah.
sing there sometimes. You're just like, whoa, that's happening.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we are very much a community space. So in addition to the comics and the coffee, it's like we host events, and, you know, we just end up kind of being like a little nerd haven for folks. We have like high school kids that come in before and after school to just hang out. And again, you know, they're all like really nerdy kids, and I don't know what face they have to put on when they're in school.
Yeah.
But when they come to Amalgam, they, you know, they're talking about this comic book and this RPG, and yeah, it's really cool. And I hope it really is. It seems that way, but I hope that they really feel like it's a place where they can just kind of shed all of, like, you know, the masks you have to wear to just kind of get through life.
Yeah.
You know, I hope that Amalgam is a place where you can just kind of like shed all that and be who you are. So yeah, so my hope for the store is that, you know, we continue to grow, and, you know, things kind of start to even out for me so I can have some work-life balance, because it is it's something that I, you know, love, but, you know, I'm with it all the time. It's like a newborn, and I'm just tired.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely on that note, thank you for trudging over here after
Giving
this
some
long
time to
day,
this, yeah.
just to hang out with
absolutely.
us and geek out about scary things. And we're going to be talking about horror for kids.
Woo.
So in our Garbled podcast, both Kat and I, like our Switch cast, we both kind of talked about briefly horror for kids, or the effect of horror with kids. So specifically that there's the House of the Clock in the Walls that Eli Roth directed. And
That's the new one with Jack Black?
yes.
Okay.
And Jack Black is also simultaneously in Goosebumps 2.
Yeah.
So he's just like, he's all about horror for kids right now.
Fun
He
fact.
likes kids movies.
Yes.
Fun
he's
fact
good
about
at them.
Goosebumps is that we showed it at our back to school night, and it made our kindergartners cry.
Oh no.
Oh, wow.
Not cool for kindergartner.
Yeah. Well, Eli had said that he wanted the House of the Clock in its walls to be the gateway for horror for kids, which, like, these days.
That's great.
So that
I
makes
love Eli
sense.
Roth. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
About his thing.
And then, but there's, for us, the gateway for horror was R.L. Stein's Goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then the Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I think just living in the 90s.
Yeah, all of the cartoons that we enjoyed. Courage the Cowardly Dog, terrifying.
Oh, I've never seen that.
It's so scary.
It's really good. Normal reaction. Not angry about it. It's a great show. It's super weird. It's like absurd horror in that, like, you're like, what? But also I'm nervous. I don't know why. Weird stuff's happening. I don't like it. But also it's like I have to keep watching.
Absolutely.
It's one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's about a dog. It's like all freaked out all the time.
Courage.
He's called Courage, ironically.
Okay.
And he's supposed to like save his like owners, but / parents / weird. They treat him like he's a person, which is good.
Is it a show or a movie?
It's
a
a show.
cartoon.
It's a show.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
cartoon show. It was on Cartoon Network.
Okay.
And it's like they live in the middle of nowhere, and just like the creepiest things happen.
I'd say honestly, horror like books too.
Yeah.
That is the most I've ever read as a child. Is like literally anything that was scary. I would not. You would put like a regular book in front of me and be like, "That's a lot of work. My brain's not here. I don't know what you're doing." Horror, it was scary enough that I'd be like, "I need to know what's gonna happen. Like, are they gonna die? I don't understand."
Yeah.
So I'd be reading like the scary stories to tell in the dark.
Oh,
I remember like vividly like reading that at camp, and then like the Goosebumps books.
Yeah.
Were great because they were short because they were for kids.
They were so
And you
quick.
would like read through them, and they were like scary enough to like it would mess you up a little bit. And Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was also a little scary.
Terrifying.
I remember every single time like school store would come to the school, not school store. What is it called?
Fair.
Scholastic
the
Book Fair.
Scholastic, yeah.
Yeah, the book fair. And you know, you'd be going through, and every single time I'd be like, "Oh, money, that sucks." But I'd always get Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I'd be like, I don't even care what other books exist. I'm not getting those. I would always get that one every single time because each year was a new one. It was exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've actually never read that. So here,
It's
my
so
thing is like,
good.
I don't really like horror books.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I have an overactive imagination. So
Yeah.
if you
worse.
describe things to me and allow my imagination to take root,
Yeah.
I would never like leave my room. I would just be terrified. So for me, it's I am better when I have the visual presentation. Like, this is what it is.
Accept it.
Process that.
Yeah.
And let it go, as opposed to like, now I have to think about this. Because that's the thing. Like, it takes me a really long time to read through comic books because I daydream through them. Like when a concept is presented, even though it's graphic, you know, you're not necessarily seeing every single thing because it's
Yeah.
to move the story along. They're not showing you every single thing. So then I'll think about it, and it's like, oh, okay, how does this world work? Oh, okay, and I really have to go there. And so that's my one rule. It's like, I don't read anything scary.
Yeah, Goosebumps, I definitely one that like upped my score for like when they had like reading challenges, and it was like, how many books can you read in a year? I totally just would like just go through all of the Goosebumps. Like, I'd run to the library, you'd read them in like one night, and it was always like, I was afraid of everything as a child. I was just a terrified little kid, but for some reason I could sit there and I could read Goosebumps, and I would be terrified. It was like in my bed, like in my covers, just like reading by like the nightlight, and it was like, you get to finish it. And generally, because it's quick, because it's short, you would get to a resolution rather quickly. Mm-hmm. And the resolutions usually worked out. Like, it was, a conclusion. There was a positive end. The kid got out of it. It was like a really ridiculous circle. Like, there were some really creepy plots in Goosebumps. Like, the ventriloquist doll, the worst.
Yeah, that was really.
Oh, never like when the dolls come out.
And it's whenever there was a book, there was also like those like short movies about it. Like, they always made movies about the book. So like, I was so bad at reading as a little kid, but I read all of those. Like, I don't understand how I forgot that was a thing.
We wanted to dive into some of the cool things about the 90s, and also just like what subjecting kids to horror themes ultimately does.
Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Here facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
I kind of stumbled on Are You Afraid of the Dark? I never really got into Goosebumps. I don't know why. And maybe it's because I was introduced to Are You Afraid of the Dark first, and
I think
the style of storytelling was different.
Yes.
And it's something about Are You Afraid of the Dark that really just grabbed me. And so Goosebumps, I've seen it. They used to have the show that came on in the afternoon, and my grandmom had a daycare center, so I would always watch it. And there were ones that were like, oh, that was kind of creepy, but for me, it was like, it was never quite Are You Afraid of the Dark? I don't know why. I stumbled across it, so it's not something I set out to watch. It was just, flipping through TV one night and discovered Snick. Which was a very 90s thing. God, Saturday Night Nick.
Yes.
And Are You Afraid of the Dark was the closer. That was the show. It came on after Ren and Stimpy, because Ren and Stimpy was not. It used to start with like Alex Mack show, but it always closed with Are You Afraid of the Dark. So 9:30 was like my favorite time.
Yeah.
Like, I was always in front of the TV for that.
I'm like, Mom, I can't go to bed. I'm afraid of the dark's coming on.
Yeah. So it's like, but it unsettled me, and I think I just discovered that I like that. Like, I like finishing something and feeling like not quite right. There is some horror that like goes too far, and I'm like, I can't. Like usually ghost stuff, I have to be careful with because again of my overactive imagination. It's just like I can't.
Yeah.
But I do like when things make me feel uneasy and make me question. I don't know. So I think I discovered that about myself with Are You Afraid of the Dark, and so it led me to seek out other things. So, Twilight Zone, even though that's an older show, as an adult, I sought that out because I was like, oh, this makes me feel like Are You Afraid of the Dark made me feel.
And it's funny because Are You Afraid of the Dark definitely has a lot of Twilight Zone. Like it's clear that it was inspired.
Yeah.
There's a lot of references, even in one of the episodes that we're going to talk about in a bit, has like a prop item that's from Twilight Zone. And Are You Afraid of the Dark has even influenced like other, what we would consider horror directors and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think like what's interesting versus like Goosebumps versus Are You Afraid of the Dark is that Are You Afraid of the Dark really takes like a almost adult kind of look at the sphere and then like puts it with children. So a lot of the topics that they're tackling are things that like prepubescent and just like children that are growing and are dealing with and making like imposing them over spooky circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're scared, but at the same time, you're kind of learning. Like you're learning, like,
oh yeah, it is bad to be addicted to my like device.
Yeah,
Technology is dangerous if you don't use it in moderation. Thanks. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
You could be kidnapped by like alien people. I don't know, whatever it was. It was weird.
Yeah, that was a
fun.
good one. There was there's a episode, I believe it's called 13th Floor, where it's this girl is like adopted and then it turns out there's like aliens. It's like spoilers all day, but you should just binge it anyway. But it turns out it's like aliens, but it's this whole thing of like otherness. Like she's already an other. She's like this adopted kid and now she's like struggling with this other of being like a human in this like alien situation. Right. So there's this level of just general fear and just like terror that's happening as like a kid that's like aliens trying to steal. Like what do we do? With also like her coming to terms with like her identity.
Well, yeah, I mean that was, if I'm remembering correctly, that episode, that was the twist because initially she was scared, like and then it's like and I remember thinking like that was not a traditional ending. Like usually it would be like she defeated them and but in the end she was one of them.
Yeah.
And I remember that episode.
They explore a lot of things like that. I thought it also when we were watching an episode, it kind of, and we'll talk about it too, it reminded me of like Black Mirror before now. Like Black Mirror obviously didn't exist, but it was definitely like technology can be bad if misused. Right. But what was interesting to me was like the narrator, like the girl who submitted the story, was just like this curmudgeon of like, just like this little girl that was like, technology is bad, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, we're all reliant on it. And it was just like kind of funny that some of the stories take like this look that is almost kind of like a wink in a way where they are clearly like they don't fully believe it themselves either, but they're like, here's a spooky thing, and you can see it come across in some of the episodes, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and the opening to Are You Afraid of the Dark still creeps me out. Like
Gabe was saying
the ship, I mean the little paddle boat rocking, it's in the swing. It's just like, oh no.
And the toy clown doll. I actually, because I was afraid of everything, I would read Goosebumps, but it's kind of like the opposite of what with you, where I could read all the time. I read really fast, but I could not watch Are You Afraid of the Dark when I was younger. I couldn't make it past the opening sequence. When it would get to the creepy doll and like the like everything's creaky, I was just like, off, it's done. I have to go away and read Harry Potter or something to make myself feel better, because I couldn't do it. And so like getting to watch it now, I was like, I missed out. Like I should have, why didn't I just stick through and get past the creepy, like literally just a swing.
Yeah.
Just like swing.
But it was a creepy swing. I mean that, I think, so for me, I think, it's so funny. So like why, talking about getting your kids into horror and, is it good for them? But even in adult horror, it's like the children are always the most terrifying. So again, the idea of the doll, like this was a kid's toy and it's creepy. It's like, yeah, the abandoned playground. It's like, or even the ghost child. Like, why is it for adults, like something about children is like frightening? Like it's interesting.
Yeah. Children are terrifying.
Yeah.
Everyone should know that.
I feel like pretty strongly. I mean, and I work with them all the time. All I do is see kids.
So she can confirm they are indeed terrifying.
But like in a different kind of way. Like not in the kind of way I see in movies. It's just more so it's like, oh my God, if anything happened to you. Like that's more so.
Yeah.
Where in movies, it's like, oh, they could like, they have no conscience. They have not developed that. They could murder you. It'd be fine. I'm like, they'd be like, all right, I'll probably recover from this in 10 years.
But kind of like going off of that, of not just like the no conscience, but there's even like a lack of, not urgency, but like not a clear understanding of danger with children. So like with these stories, it's very easily like believable that a kid just like walks into like a scary situation and that these events would occur. Like, yeah, like there's so many episodes where like anyone else would not have done that. Right. But a kid is gonna do that.
Oh, for sure. Kids just like, they don't get
danger. They don't get danger.
They don't have a concept of time.
Yeah.
Like they're just not, they're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And they don't understand like the consequence that could happen could be lasting.
Right.
They're like, I've been alive for 7 years. So that's the window I have. That's all I know. So like the idea of something that happens now being a forever thing, I don't know what that is. I've been alive for a minute. Like I don't get that. It's very hard for them to grasp.
Right.
Yeah. There's always this trope of like in these, even in the books, in movies, on any of it, that there's always that the adults don't believe them. So there's this like terrifying thing, and that's something that like kids can relate to, because I read this article where it was essentially like keeping kids from horror things at a young age does not keep them from fear. If anything, it like they're going to be afraid. Kids are afraid. Kids are afraid of the dark. They're afraid of strangers. They're afraid of like the world, because it's like everything's new, everything's different, and everything has the potential to be scary. So, and then you're also like dealing with like, if you think there's monsters under your bed and you go tell your parents, and they're of course going to be like, there's no monsters under your bed. Right? So in these, this is what's happening. You know, there's a monster under their bed. They tell their parents they don't, like nothing happens. But now these kids get to act out the fantasies of like defeating the monster under their bed, so that by the end of the episode, it's like, okay, well, if a monster came under my bed, like the 80s film Monsters, what is it?
Oh, with Ben Savage?
Yes, yeah. And the monster world. And they were so cool. It was like kind of creepy. It's such an underrated movie, and I bring it up, and there's like, I think I brought it up in the past few years, maybe 20 times, and you're like one of the only people who have been like, yeah,
I love that movie. Absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, but that literally would like be such a help for someone who's like, I'm afraid of monsters under my bed. So it's like, okay, watch this film where there is a monster under your bed, and there's a whole world of monsters, and scary things happen, but he ultimately defeats it, and he like makes a friend, and he has like this fear conquered. So if anything, subjecting your kids to horror at a young age, that is reasonable. Right. Like we're not saying crazy. Go to Hostel. Like don't start at a 10. Like bring them in, wean them in.
If it's rated R, it's probably rated R for a reason. But if you got like a PG-13 going on, you don't gotta. I don't know. I don't understand the idea that just because you pretend it doesn't exist or you hide it, that's protecting someone. I feel like more so make them aware of it so that they can deal with it, and then try to like fix. I don't know. I've never understood the whole, well, if I never let them watch a rated R movie, they'll never be traumatized. So they'll never be able to like,
my perfect child.
No, they're going to see that eventually. And then they're going to feel even less prepared for it because you waited till they were 27 to let them live. Right. And then they're like,
and then they made a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah. It's just like, you're not doing them any favors by sheltering them from the world that is the world. Like the world is what it is. You pretending it's not like that is not going to do your child any favors.
Yes.
So might as well just let them dive right in. The world's a weird, awful, scary place.
Not dive. Wade in.
Like wade in.
Dip
your toe in.
Yeah, take
all
your
I'm
time.
is
don't subject them to torture.
I'm not saying let them watch Saw, but I am saying let them like do the like basic stuff where like I don't get the whole censorship and like of like children programming. It's like the world is crazy. It's awful things happen all the time. You might as well just like make that aware, because that's how they'll survive emotionally and otherwise.
Yeah, and I agree with that to a point, but I do understand, like, you know, what if you're a parent. I'm not a parent, but I would think if you were a parent and you know how crappy the world is, you want to like shield that from your kid, but then you do set false expectations. Yeah. It's like, yeah, because that's not how the world works. So, and I feel like, you know, you've met those people who are like not well adjusted, and it's just like your parents sheltered you from a lot, and now you're reeling because you realize that that's not what the world is. Yeah. So I agree with that.
And they get like very overwhelmed and upset about minor things that most people are like, okay, that's like that's a little thing that I don't really care about, because like that's a big deal.
Right.
A tiny thing is a big deal because they've had 0 deals. Right. So then if you've had like minorly, like you've at least acknowledged that there's minor deals and big deals, that when a minor deal comes along, you're like, okay, whatever.
Or you think like, oh gosh, because that could have been worse. I mean, there have been things that happen, and not that you're happy that it happened, but it's like, that could have been worse. Yeah. So I'll take it and keep it moving.
And like shows and movies and stuff, that's like the most harmless way to go into it. Because it's like, usually there's a resolution. If anything, you're showing them how to get out of that situation, where it's like, you need to dive into the fear, man.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's the whole thing.
Yeah. And it's a protected environment. You're not like,
you're safe. There's not a real monster in your television.
Right.
You have the power to turn it off when it gets too scary, so you're also giving them control. They'll
have a bad dream.
We're advocates for torturing your children young and molding them.
And there's always lessons, and then they remember them because it's traumatic.
Yeah. Right. Also that.
I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there are lessons to be learned. I feel like, especially, you know, horror uses tropes. And so there is a good thing. There is such a thing as a healthy fear. You know, because when you have no fear, you're reckless and you end up endangering yourself. But I feel like, you know, you watch enough movies where it's like, oh, and a woman was walking alone on a dark path and somebody jumped out. So now, you know, I know personally when I walk down the street and I see no one else, I have my keys ready to stab someone. Yep. It's like, you know, because it just kind of prepares you. It's like, because something could happen. And little do they know I'm ready. It's like, little do they know I'm the Buffy in this situation. And you're not just going to like pounce on me. It's going to be a fight. Yeah. So, yeah. And I think, you know, and you know, I'm a nerd in many ways. So I think about the world differently, you know, and some things it's like, I know that will never happen, but what if, you know, it makes you like question reality, which I think is healthy to do too.
So ready for any apocalypse situation. Like, it's like, yep.
And just like thinking out of the box of how you interact with your surroundings, how you interact with other people. I don't know. I just think it opens you up to more ideas, which is good. You know what I mean? Makes you a better thinker.
One thing I wanted to bring up was because they have all these different interesting, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? We're going to highlight 2 episodes. But I wanted to point out there's one called The Tale of Station 109.1. And that talks about like the afterlife and like this idea of like heaven and hell. And it kind of has like a Beetlejuice kind of feel, where it's just like, it's a radio station. But also that Ryan Gosling is a special guest in there. What? Yeah. He was too busy on the Mickey Mouse Club, so he wasn't one of the Midnight Society, but he guest starred.
Oh, did you research that?
I did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Man, I could have had Ryan Gosling in my life sooner than young Hercules.
Yes. And then I wanted to just geek out mostly about R.L. Stine, because I did some research, and I just find him to be the most adorable, like, grandpa person. Like, I was watching these videos, and he is so silly. Like, one, he has the best Twitter bio that I think exists, and it is, my job to terrify kids. That's it. That's all it says. And I'm like, check, you do it all the time. But he explained that, like, when he was a kid, he was afraid of like everything, and so he wouldn't really leave his room, and instead he would just write it down.
These are all the things I'm scared of. Oh my gosh, that's genius.
So that's like how he kind of coped with it. But the thing that I thought was really cute in his like interview that I saw was that he kind of goes on a rant about cell phones, and he says that cell phones ruin the plots of like every horror film.
Yeah.
And the quote is, he's like, help me, come get me, I'm trapped in a haunted house. Like, it's just like anytime anything spooky happens, he's like, you can't do the whole call is coming from inside the house. It's like, who's calling her? She checks her ID, and then she's like, oh, the movie's over.
Right.
You know? And he's like totally like not against technology, but he thinks it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to play with.
Right.
But then he says he's not afraid of things anymore. Like he finds it funny. He finds horror funny now. And that, I think that kind of comes through in what he does. He did say that when he showed up to talk to like when he talks to groups of kids, they're always like disappointed to see him because he's the spooky guy, but then you see him and he's just an average regular guy from Ohio, and he's just like, hey,
Favorite Jewish grandpa.
Mans it up a little bit.
Yeah, he just needs to show up in a cape.
I came to scare you.
Yeah, they're like, who's this man? He's just normal.
This is normal.
Films. Yeah, films. Yeah, films. We watch some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
So we watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? We watched 2 episodes that you recommended, which was Tale of the Dollmaker and Tale of the Dream Girl. One fun fact is that one of the creators of Are You Afraid of the Dark is DJ McHale, who wrote a series of books that I read when I was like a teen. The Pendragon series, which I saw his name pop up and I was like, oh my God.
Wait, the Pendragon, is that like the Knights of the Round Table when they were in high school?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's like a kid who goes to other dimensions, other worlds.
Oh, okay.
It's like, it is pretty cool. The first episode we watched was Tale of the Dollmaker, which is from 1994. So during like kind of the earlier age of it. And the synopsis is, Melissa searches for her missing friend and discovers she has been magically transformed into a doll in a dollhouse. There's so much to unpack with this episode.
It was great.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Pokemon episode where they turn them into like little dolls. That was like one of my favorite ones. I thought it was cool.
Dolls are scary. And the idea that you're becoming a doll just from being in a place. And that's kind of like reminiscent of the monster film, in that like if he was stuck down there, he was going to turn into a monster. Right. And all those monsters were kids once, which is terrifying. So if they threw in some more kids in there, it would have been way scarier. I think they should have added like a ghost child. That would have been cool. But essentially there's this young girl, Melissa, who is visiting her aunt and uncle, and they don't mention that there's a missing like her friend is literally a missing kid.
Right. And I think that the whole thing is they didn't want to upset her. But it's like, well, clearly she's going to come and be like, where's my friend? You know? And so that the whole thing was, oh, they've moved.
Yes.
And then eventually they tell her, well, they've moved because they couldn't stay in the house anymore, but they're keeping it. Like they didn't sell it or anything because they are hoping that she might come back. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, it's like, okay, did they tell her parents? 2, it's like a kid went missing in this neighborhood. So it's like she could have been abducted. There could be a child abductor.
Hey, let them know that there's a child abductor hanging out around here. Send me your daughter.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
And we're not going to...
Not stressed.
They're the worst at secrets. Like she's literally like
shouting
sitting
about
in
it.
the next room. And they're like, did you tell her about the scary house next door? Now the child went missing inside the house and they said it was haunted and no one should go in there.
He's like, she might hear you.
She might hear that there's a haunted house next door. And then she like loudly comes over to like check on her
to see if
like,
she's still
clomp,
asleep.
clomp, clomp, clomp. Just gonna take a nice stride down this
good,
hall.
she's sleeping.
Make sure there's enough time for a kid to pretend that she's been sleeping this whole time. And then I do want to shout out to the uncle, because why on earth did he think that she would think it's fun to repair a septic tank?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
Well, their whole thing I think with them is they didn't have their own kids, so they don't know.
Yeah,
They're like, you want to do this thing, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, no.
It's like when you give Ron Swanson, he's like, I got her this saw. It's like those, right? And it's like, no. Do not give a child a sharp object.
Yeah, I could, especially because it was like, I think in the narration, the girl's like, every time she went to visit her aunt and uncle, it was pretty lame. Or not, she didn't say lame. She said like whack, or like, so it was a 90s term for like, it was just the worst. And then when she met the friend, then things got
They
better.
didn't have cable.
Yeah, they didn't have cable. Just like, it's like, do you want to
But
help
you know
me
what?
with
As a
septic
kid,
tank?
though, I remember being in people's houses and they didn't have cable. It was painful.
Yeah.
It was like, it's Saturday and there's nothing on because you have 5 channels. But
Yo, WB17 was a fun time though, and that was not cable. They played cable shows.
But
on
that
it.
was like when I was younger, though, because I remember TVs that still had the dial on it.
Yeah.
So there were
Yep.
two kind of technologies happening where some people still had the like, oh, you have to turn the dial and then turn the special dial, and then you get to turn the dial with the more numbers, like all that. And then you go to some people's houses and they have like a big screen with like cable, and it's like, you had the Disney Channel, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was like like so
very
much
exciting.
fun. So I definitely, it's funny because she sounds so whiny, like they don't have cable, but it's like, no, I remember those times.
Yeah.
You know? Now nobody has cable because we all have phones, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
And she
Cable
was
such a big
so,
deal.
she was definitely just fine to accept that her friend had moved away if the aunt hadn't been in the house too. Like, because there was movement upstairs, and then the aunt's like, it was probably me, which makes sense because it's not like the girl was outside of that door, right?
Yeah.
The house. So if she hadn't been up there, she never would have ended up in this house. It's your own fault.
Right.
Being weird. Why are you in the house? Why are you up there?
She's
What are you
like always
doing?
up there, like checking on stuff.
You're like, what is
It's like,
your
let me
weird
just walk near this
obsession?
dollhouse and then walk away.
Yeah.
No other reason.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for anything or
It
anybody.
was good. I definitely was stressed when they had to jump out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, no. And then you kind of see the warp like from her
yeah.
foot. And I was like, okay, maybe
It's
it'll
probably
be
fine,
fine.
it's probably
She's
fine.
like, this doesn't make sense. The window is to their attic. And I was like, I don't know, girl.
Yeah.
None of
I
this
feel
has
like-
logical sense.
I feel like maybe you're having like something going on, and if you jump, you're gonna be extra dead. So like, let's be careful now.
yeah. I could definitely see. That girl was creepy. Even when she was done being a doll.
Well, I mean, she's been a doll for a little while, so I'm sure it takes you a minute to like, you know, warm up, get the porcelain flowing.
Yeah.
My hand's actually on my hand. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wanted her to just take out like a hand from her pocket, but she's just like,
It's like, oh shoot, we forgot to reattach it first before we
no.
jumped out the window.
I was like, why doesn't
This is
anyone
forever.
have questions? Like, they're just like, oh, is it like? I just want to be in the room with the police that are like, where have you been?
I've been
Right.
to a
I mean, I think that's
dollhouse.
one of those things. It's one of those moments where it's like the adults won't really believe it. So, well,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? That's not true because then they burn the dollhouse.
Yeah, they
and
burned
then
the
so it's like, so
dollhouse.
now where does the door lead? But I don't think they're like really going to involve the authorities. It's like, we're happy
Yeah.
to have you back. In this case, they do believe her because it's like clearly something happened. So we're going to burn this dollhouse just to be sure. But, you know, then there are those cases where it's like, well, we're happy you're back, but we don't believe that's actually what happened, you know?
And you're probably just too traumatized to say
to
real
realize
words.
it.
And the mom did say, or the parents of her, one
That
of
the
them
house
had
did
said, yeah, the house did it.
Yeah.
So there was some kind of
Well,
place.
so that is the thing that creeped me out. So I do like cursed objects,
yeah.
right? And so for me, because the dollhouse is an exact replica of the house, the question then becomes, what came first, the house or the dollhouse? Is the large, like the actual house, is the dollhouse a replica of the house, or is the house a replica of the dollhouse? And so in my mind, I like to think that the dollhouse came first and the house manifested around it in order to like lure children to become dolls. And then, but then it begs the question, who made it? And like, who's
Yeah.
overseeing this creation of these dolls? And if she would have, because again, the house has been there. So you would argue that this is probably not the first child that's been trapped in there, but there are no other dolls when they go. So who collects them? Like, you know, it opens up these other, like,
She's
that
been
is-
there for a minute too.
yeah, that's the thing that terrifies me about the story. It's like, why is this here? Who made it? And where is everyone that didn't get out? Like, it's just so creepy. Like, it's so many unanswered questions, even though we're with this one little girl who got saved. But it begs a question of like, well, what on earth is going on here? Like, something
Like, how is this happening?
like, how is this happening? Like, we are in some kind of weird supernatural place that we should maybe all question.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Or you and even like burning the house that's hostile. So what is the reaction? Like it's a
does it
magical
come
thing.
back?
There's going to be backlash
A
for that. I don't know. So I just
repercussion.
feel like there are these other stories to tell around it, and that's why it's like one of my favorite episodes
Yeah.
because it unsettles me on so many different levels because it leaves so much unanswered, and I like that.
Yeah, they like sloppily put this bow on. We're like, we got the kid back. They got out. And I was like, for me, when I was watching and she's like running through the house and she's trying to get her and all that, I was waiting for there to
someone
be
to pop out.
someone or
Yeah.
like there to be some presence that like causes there like some kind of chaos in there, like whether it's the Dollmaker comes in and she's like a Victorian looking woman who's just like, oh my precious,
Yeah.
like, or if someone like grabs the house or something. Like I was waiting for there to be the presence that was the reason for this, and when it didn't
Yeah.
happen, I was just like, what is happening?
Right.
Why? Why?
Why?
This be?
Yeah, it definitely always feels like the beginning of a story, and then they like cut it off, like before there's like it gets flushed out.
Right.
Like even with the virtual, so we watched Tale of Virtual Pets, which is essentially like they had like little almost
Tamagotchi
Tamagotchis
feels,
kind
yeah.
of, but it was like,
But, like,
just
angry.
a dog on a screen that
Angry
wanted to absorb
Tamagotchis.
information from the kids. So it would absorb the kid into the Tamagotchi and then make a replica of the kid who would then go and recruit other kids. But it's like, what are this alien technology robot whatever
Like,
it
why
is?
is this happening?
Why do they want
Where's it
these
going?
kids? Like,
Right.
why the kids was my question as it was happening. And there's like the one girl is like totally anti technology. She's like,
She has a grandpa and a
my
little
pen will,
child.
she says, my pencil will never crash.
Right.
It's one of her quotes. She says like 3 times. They have to like talk her through the like control delete. She's like, what? And they're like, first grab the mouse. And she's like, the mouse? She's looking. And he's like, really? Like and then she was like, you need to type faster. She's like, I haven't taken typing yet. And I was like, oh my God.
I remember
I
typing.
remember
That was
taking
a class
typing.
that I took.
I love that class.
It was a great
that
class, yeah.
has saved me many a essay, last minute essay in college.
Yeah.
Because if I had to like hunt and peck, I would never get it done. But I actually know how to type.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Typing
everyone
was
take
one of the best.
keyboarding.
Yes.
It's a important class.
In the event that there's an alien race that wants to control you through your video games, you would have to hack them and you need to type really fast. I just think one is really cool, the structure of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and the fact that these kids come up with these stories. Like, shout out to them for being consistent and delivering
Yeah.
pretty awesome stories.
Yeah, and I like with the show in general, like every character had their own style of story.
Yeah.
So you get I think it was Sam who would always bring props, like she would come in costume.
Yeah.
And I feel like Betty Ann would always take normal things like the mundane and make them scary. Like Tale of the Dollmaker, that was Betty Ann's story, where it's like this, oh, it's a doll, and
Yeah.
then make you question it. Yeah, and Gary did a lot of magic, and Kiki always had the black people, and Frank always had like, it was always like sports related, like I don't know. So they all had like their thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish I had watched it more to know. I'm like kind of just want to like have it on all the time. Have one of those binge worthy.
Yeah, I want to like
spooks.
give you a list. So I had to pick 2, but there are so many good ones. So I definitely want to like leave with a list of like, you definitely need to watch this one, this one, this one. So we can do that at the end.
Yeah, we'll definitely take that, and we'll share it with the listeners too, because in case they want to catch up as well.
Yes.
They are on YouTube. There's like a subscription, or you can just like kind of Google them. We also watched Tale of the Dream Girl, which is also from 1994.
It was great.
And that is where Johnny is haunted by a dream girl who is really a ghost looking for a boyfriend.
Johnny.
Johnny. Johnny, his hair was atrocious. That's
I
just
thought
the
it was
one
cute.
thing.
I thought that was
It was in style.
that was
It was in style.
That
It
was
the
that
heartthrob
generation's
style.
version of the F boy.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
was an F boy haircut.
It definitely was. I was like, you need a bath. One. But he was really cute. And the relationship with him and the sister was cute. It was like really close. It was kind of like weird, but at the same time, it was like, it made sense. But I really enjoyed the way it kind of took you through the story, and when it started like hinting that things were not quite right, I was starting to pick up on it. Like I couldn't quite figure it out, but by the end we were like, oh,
yeah, we've
yeah.
seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this episode influenced M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
The whole idea of a dead person not knowing that they're dead and going about life. Because when the sister like kind of when he's like, what is going on, and she finally just breaks down and says, it's like, you're dead, and she was like, and after you just came back like nothing happened, and I didn't know what to do because I was the only one that could see you. Like it was. Yeah. It was like heartbreaking and spooky, but it was spooky. But at the same time, it's your brother, and so he's clearly not here to hurt you. But the fact that but the fact that there's this veil that has been lifted for a time, you know what I mean? It's just it was just so crazy.
Even her like leading him to it, like when he's just like, "Why didn't you just tell me?" And she's like, "You didn't remember," and like her just being like, why did you come to this grave? Like there's an entire cemetery. Why would you, how you just happen to stumble on it? Right. And like just slowly like lead him gingerly into the fact that he's dead. She didn't just throw him in there. Right. And it's actually, M. Night has said that this was the inspiration for the Sixth Sense. Yes. This was the original Bruce Willis twist. And that's
crazy.
You didn't know he was dead, right?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
The like that. A kid's show influenced that movie.
And I don't think I've ever like even well, that's, you know what, that's not true, because I was going to say even in Twilight Zone, but then there's The Hitchhiker, and that's a tale where she doesn't know she's dead. You're Going My Way, which is
it's a good one.
Creepy,
it's very reminiscent of Stephen King, that one too. I think he was inspired by Twilight Zone.
Oh, got you. But yeah, so I mean, I guess Rod Sterling, it was just before his time. Rod Sterling is the inspiration for everything. But it was just so different. Like at the point that I saw that episode, I'd never encountered any story like it. And so that's like when Sixth Sense came out, I was like, this is like that.
It's very reminiscent.
This is like, are you afraid of the dark? So
yeah, like when I was watching, I definitely wanted to make a joke. Like I was thinking to make a joke with Kat where I was going to be like, oh, a Bruce Willis twist, which is what we call M. Night Shyamalan twist, because it's with Bruce Willis in it. And I was going to make that joke, and I was researching, and it was like, M. Night gives credit. I was like, we were right. It is that. This is the one that actually has the prop item of Twilight Zone in it. And that's the pinball machine in the background of a bowling alley is a Twilight Zone one.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what
that's such a fun
from
fact.
What episode?
And this is what IMDb told me.
I mean, I love Twilight Zone too.
One thought I had while watching was she has the most conveniently folded newspaper article ever. Where she's like, is it this girl? She's dead. You're here as well. Like, it
was like preparing.
It was so
she was
well like
she was like, yeah.
The structure of it was like girl dead, right? And then it was like the second like the other part of it is like two dead. Like it was so conveniently placed, and then it's his face as well. I was like, this is she's just been carrying this thing. Like that was one of the first clues. So I was like, why would she just have this newspaper?
Well, it also makes me wonder if she tried to tell him before.
Yeah.
And for her to even say, well, you didn't remember. And so does that mean I did tell you? And then the next day it was like I hadn't told you anything. You know what I mean? Because I mean, that's the thing with ghosts. They are crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They don't have like
they
time
don't have
or
sense of
memory
time or anything. So I think all of that would be reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like, yeah, like we've done this, which is why I have this perfectly folded article, but you know, we can do it one more time.
We'll take it slow this time.
That poor sister, like having to act like she didn't see a dead thing, like that.
She deserves
the whole time,
like an Emmy for her acting just in that one part. Like she did so like there. I forget what she said, but when he was leaving, she essentially is just like, it's okay, like you've always been there for me or whatever. Like you're like, I don't remember exactly a word she said, but it was it was like the most sister thing to say, and it was so delicate and heartfelt when it's put on to this really severe situation, and that he's dead and now is going to go to the afterlife. You know, he's going to leave. But it was just like, I was like, oh, my heart. Like, I've had 20 minutes with you guys, and I'm like so emotional.
Yeah.
Like, I
That's why
feel
That
it.
was a
been so
great
bummed.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Mom being bummed. I
Yeah.
was like, because it was just like a passing idea. Like when he's just like, what's wrong with mom? And she's like, we don't need to talk about it.
Right.
And that she never acknowledged him.
right.
I was
Yeah.
just like, she's rude.
Yeah, it was just so. And it's funny because this is the one episode that I felt was older. Like I felt like this was for 18. Like
Yeah.
even watching it, and I was younger when I watched it. I felt like this is an episode for older people because
Yeah.
just the emotional weight of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot was going on there. And I agree. Like that kind of mom being in the background and not acknowledging him, and clearly something's wrong. And he's like, well, why isn't she talking to me? Him going to work.
Yeah.
And like,
And the
I'm
boss not
I'm fixing
acknowledging
the
him.
things. Why is he acting like I'm not here?
Yeah.
It was like, it was just like beautifully done. And all the clues were there, but not enough to spoil it.
Yeah.
You know
they
what I
were
mean? Which I
subtle.
think is really hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. That definitely was, I think I was floored by that one. I was just like, that was a great ending. I wasn't expecting it until it happened,
Right.
which was such a nice ride. Cause usually they're just like, hey, think about this. And you're like, I'm trying to pay attention. And you're like, I'm distracted. But this one was like, oh, by the way, he's been dead the whole time.
That's crazy.
And that's his girlfriend. She loves him. Which was nice. That was a good twist. Yeah.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
All right. So if you like it, it's I submit this rating to the Midnight Society. And if you don't like it, it is my pencil never crashes, because you're a snooty little brat child.
Okay.
Who doesn't understand how important technology is. So for the let's say for the overall topic of scaring children, how do we feel?
I submit this rating to the Midnight Society.
Yeah.
I also.
I also submit this rating to the Midnight Society. Yeah, I think we said it before. It's good for them.
Yeah.
Rub some dirt in it. Get it together.
I feel very strongly about it, but I'm not going to rant again. I feel like it goes nowhere productive. I'm just like, do it.
Just go to the beginning of this episode,
And just
listen to what
my
Kat
whole
said,
thing
and
again.
that's her answer.
Yeah. I'm very pro scaring your children. I just feel like it builds character.
It does. It definitely does. So yeah, remember to scare your children because it's good for them and it'll put some hair on their chest. And then for Are You Afraid of the Dark? Specifically these episodes, but then also the series in itself.
Also, the thing.
Yeah, I'm also going to submit that rating to the Midnight Society.
Me as well.
She
Clearly.
recommended it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're already there.
And on top of that, so we watched, and you guys should watch it too, was Tale of the Dollmaker, Tale of the Dream Girl, and then Tale of the Virtual Pets from 1999. You should also watch Tale of Station 109.1 and Tale of the 13th Floor. So name drop those. But then what are some other ones that we should?
Tale of Watchers Woods. Yeah, that one still. It was hard to choose, but I was like, again, the Dream Girl one was so poignant, and the Dollhouse one scares me to the point that after I watch it, I have to watch something else.
Yep.
I'm 35.
Yeah.
And you know, that thing that was made for kids still kind of just unsettles me to a point. But Watchers Woods, the story that unfolds is like just crazy. It's just crazy, and it spans time, and yeah, it's a really good one. The Tale of Old Man Corcoran.
Oh no.
The twist on that one, I was like, holy crap. That's one of Kiki's stories. Man, I can't remember the name of it, but it's about a young girl who moves into an apartment building and she befriends an old woman. I think it's like the Tale of Apartment 3B or something. I think it's named after the apartment. That's a really great one. There's so many. Like, I love this show. There's one, Melissa Joan Hart was in one.
Oh, no.
I think it was The Tale of the Frozen Ghost. I'm cold. That's like, it's just like that. And oh my gosh. And then Tatiana Ali was in one called Tale of the Quicksilver, which was also very good, emotional.
Yeah.
That one made me
Yeah.
cry.
Aw.
I cried at the end of that one. It's just, I would just say, definitely just peruse. Like, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff in these episodes.
Yeah, and you can stumble on them just on YouTube when you go on there and you just type in like one of the tales. There's some that you have to pay for, like when some of the really good ones, but there's also just like a channel that had them because it's been around for a long time. Yeah, it's great. It was great having you on with us to geek out about these awesome shows and how much smarter they are than we think.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. Nobody ever asked me to talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark? So
Yes.
this was a good time.
Yeah.
Woo.
Anytime you want to continue to watch those things, we are here for it.
All right, awesome.
I'm
Yes.
actually like really down. I also didn't watch it as a kid. I was like purely Goosebumps, and I didn't have cable. I was one of those. So until I was like old and it didn't matter anymore, and I was like, well, I don't want to watch this because that's stupid. Or Are You Afraid of the Dark is fantastic, and if you want to watch it, I will definitely watch it. We should do that
Yeah.
all the time, or we should just have like screenings of it.
No, I was actually thinking that because I was like, oh, it's October.
It
and
is.
we watch Are You
I have
Afraid of
a
the Dark at your
place
place.
to do that.
Screen them.
Yeah, I mean, to even just kind of like, a kid's horror afternoon. Like, again,
my
because if we're talking about
gosh.
introducing your kids to
Yeah.
these things, it's like, that's kind of cool. And it's a non-scary setting.
Yeah. You're
noted.
comfortable.
I'm so for this
yeah.
idea.
We
Yeah.
we
will mark
wade
it.
them in together. We take the neighborhood kids and we make them stronger.
Yes.
Yes. So, listeners, be sure to check out Amalgam Comics. It's awesome. It's a great, just like nerd space, a sanctuary, if you will. There's always cool events happening. So definitely keep that in your thoughts and make your way down there to say hi to Ariell. And yeah, remember, don't get married. Date your kids.
You wanna have the kids so you can traumatize them later. So
Yeah.
don't marry, because then you'll be eaten.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
Or they
right
can
now.
listen to stories about getting eaten and be stronger. Okay. All right.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.